Jake's POV. Of course we would hit a storm less than an hour after setting sail. The waves were choppy, and despite being several feet above the water, thanks to rooms that made the ship float while its sails were open, the waves were still tall enough to reach the hull and beat against it, causing the ship to rock back and forth violently. I clung onto one of the many bird box-like structures scattered around the deck, because not 1 inch of the ship had railing, and below deck was where the cargo was haphazardly stored. All the Nume were lying in their boxes, looking more green than blue, but I doubt I looked any better. Not a drop of rain made it to the deck at least, thanks to runes carved into the sails, which created a sort of bubble of fresh air around us. For that I was very thankful, because I doubt I would have been able to hold on if everything was wet. That deflection did result in a sort of thin film of water flowing down around the ship, like a pane of wet glass surrounding us. Suddenly, I was reminded of one of Zachariah's memories, when he also travelled on a ship, after Deja lashed out and lost his name.
"Jake, are you okay?"
Suma asked. Hers was the box I was clinging onto, so she was just above me. "No," I said.
"Neither am I."
"Suma, on the way back, you can just summon me once you arrive, because I am never doing this again."
"How do the crew of this sea flyer make a journey like this every time?"
"We don't," a voice inside a nearby box called out, but I couldn't see it from where I was. "The voyage is rarely like this. Actually, we knew this one would be rough, so only the experienced crew came this time."
"You knew? How?"
Suma asked. "The clouds and the waves," I guessed, remembering a show on TV about sailors I'd seen a few years ago. "Good guess. The clouds came in quick and the rays were regular. Our captain tried to warn yours to wait a day, but it seems your group was in a rush," the voice said. "Shouldn't you be, I don't know, flying around and keeping the ship sailing or something?" I asked. "In the middle of a storm? The runes will keep the ship on course and the rain off us, but they won't stop a bolt of lightning from turning our feathers from black to blue." The image of Zeus wearing Colonel Sanders' red and white apron and black bow tie flashed in my head. "Yeah, good point." Without warning, a wave swell collided with the back of the ship, causing us to turn almost a full 90 degrees in 2 seconds. My head smashed into the pole I was holding hard enough to daze me. My grip loosened and I fell flat. Stunned and limp, I didn't even notice myself rolling. "Jake!" Suma yelled, just as the wood of the deck splintered apart and wrapped itself around me. Once I could see straight ahead, I noticed Lieutenant Datahu hanging halfway out of her box, with both wingtips pointed at me. Then I looked around and saw I was less than a foot from the side of the ship. The wood let me go, and went back in place. "Thanks, Lieutenant," I said, and Suma cast a healing spell on me. Apparently I started bleeding from the nose without realizing it. She nodded and pulled herself back into her own box. Once I was healed, Suma did the same. "Maybe your familiar should go below deck?" the voice asked, his head now popping just barely out of the box. "We don't normally transport anything as large as he is, so we have nothing prepared, but at least below deck he can't fall into the sea." "No thanks. I didn't see you strap down a single thing when you were loading up the ship's supplies," I protested. "Well, of course we didn't. Who uses straps anymore? What is this, a Fisher's sea perch? We have rooms that keep things in place."
"Jake, I think it would be a good idea. What would have happened if you had fallen off the boat?" Suma asked.
It was the Nume in the box that answered. "Well, we can't stop and raise the sails in a storm like this, so he would have gotten left behind. And you would have had to resummon him. Assuming he didn't drown before you could, or die as soon as he hit the water. He doesn't exactly look like he can swim. No offense." "I can swim. I might still go below deck though, if it really is safe." The ship was rocking back and forth too much for me to stand and walk to the hatch at the back of the ship, so I had to spread my arms and legs out like a starfish and crawl on my belly to make it. On the way there I heard what sounded like Nine's voice, moaning, only to be quickly followed by the sounds of retching and another pain moan. Below deck wasn't much better, but at a glance, it seemed nothing was moving around, despite the obvious lack of anything keeping even a single box down. The only thing that was different between this room and one on land is that you couldn't stand up or you'd fall down, and the glowing silver runes that lined the walls. Suddenly the ship lurched again, and I felt like I was about to fall, but some kind of force pushed against my entire body in the opposite direction and kept me upright. Hardly even moved a centimetre. "Oh?" I said, surprised. After only an hour of this, I was ready for it to be over, but the journey was scheduled to take several days. Gotta at least make it through this storm, I thought to myself. Deciding to pass the time by diving into Deja's memories, I laid down and waited for another sharp turn to make sure that I wouldn't move, even if I was flat on the floor. Once I confirmed it, I told Suma what I was doing, and opened the memories. As soon as I fell into that hazy darkness, the feeling of the choppy waters disappeared, bringing a nearly overwhelming sense of relief. The memory I dived into was one I'd seen before, but hadn't yet finished. It was of Deja teaching Zachariah what Ashem had taught him years ago, how to dual cast spells. "The secret is to perfectly master both spells, and then perform them at the same time. Your body already knows what to do for both, as does your mind, but now it must learn to do them together. Daily practice is key," Deja said in his creepy voice. From context, I gathered that this was before whatever happened between him and Ashem that caused them to fight and Ashem to die, but after the Battle of Dragonfall Bay, which nearly got Zachariah arrested by that council. "Rot," Zachariah said, casting a death magic spell on a tree. As the bark turned black and the leaves fell off in droves, my stomach sank, remembering both the first death magic I ever saw in the alley and the first I ever cast on Harbinger. "Good. Now, using the residual magic, cast a spell of inversion," Deja said, his massive head hanging over Zachariah like a looming shadow. With a wave of his hand, but without any words, the tree began to regain its colour. New leaves sprouted and the bark healed slowly. However, before it was fully restored, the spell stopped. "I used all of the magic that was left, but it did not turn back to how it was," Zachariah said, frustrated. "This is only practice, to help you understand the process. Casting both spells at the same time will fully heal the tree, because the magic that is inverting will not be residual but active." "I do not understand. You speak of tiny creatures that split in half, and that we are made of them, but this sounds impossible to me. I am sorry, Deja. Perhaps you are wasting your time teaching me your world's magic."
"Zachariah, do not be so distraught. Look how far you've come after only a few lessons. If you had known of this technique when you fought at the warring grounds, then you could have killed that army by yourself. You must not give up." Deja waved one of his massive claws in the air and restored the tree exactly how it was before. Zachariah sighed.
"Fine. Still, as awful as I am at this, it is still far better than what Amboss is doing now."
"What is he doing?"
"He is with the twins, Kukul Khan and Indra."
Deja scoffed. "Yes, preferable indeed."
The memory continued for a while, and I took careful note of what was happening. Without realizing how much time had passed, Suma eventually woke me up.
"Jake, the storm has passed. Thank the dragons."
Ending the memory and waking up, I went back to the top deck. Most of the Nume were flying around. Some were perched as high as they could get without actually leaving the ship, and others were leaning over the side, still more green than blue. "How long was I down there?" I asked.
4 hours. Did you learn anything?"
Suma said. "Yeah, a bit. I need to practice it though."
"Well, you have the next few days, and a whole ocean as a target."
"Thankfully the Queen gave me special permission to practice death magic. Now I need a target."
"What spell are you going to cast?"
"Well, going by what Zachariah and he were doing, I think the rot spell inverts to healing magic."
"So you need something that can rot?"
"Yeah."
"Just be careful not to accidentally sink the boat."